From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes, brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another day, yet another week, yet another month, as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Twin Cities sports scene. So 10K Takes television, another episode. We're into the dog days now.
Yeah, well, certainly for baseball, it's dog days. It's just getting off the ground with football and the NFL. Obviously, the Vikings in camp, and it's pads week. But for the Twins, this is kind of make or break time, don't you think? I mean, they lose 2 out of 3 out in San Diego. They got pummeled on Friday night. Nice bounce-back game on Saturday. And then Sunday they lose a close one. So they find their lead down to just one game over Cleveland. And I know it's funny because I looked, the odds makers in Las Vegas still have the White Sox as the favorite.
They're only 2 back.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. And then everybody's listing what the White Sox should do at the trade deadline and what the Twins should do at the trade deadline. Nobody's talking about Cleveland, but they're the team that's one game back and really the team that's playing the best of the 3 right now.
And they're probably the team that if they made that splashy move or got that key piece or two, could trampoline all the way into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, Cleveland's got the pitching. They've got the bullpen. We know that. I think with the Twins, is it make or break? Well, my hunch is this is going to go down to the final week in September. It may be a 3-team race. Twins finally come back home. They haven't played a game at trendy Target Field since pre-All-Star break. Now they get Detroit, and then Toronto comes in. And I think it's going to be over the weekend with the Blue Jays. It'll be a Canadian coup d'etat.
Yeah, lots of royal blue in the
boy,
house.
the Blue Jay fans are going to take over the house. They're going to come down from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, because they don't get many chances to see their team in person. It's a long ways to Toronto if you live in Winnipeg or Moose Jaw.
Thunder Bay.
Your options are, going to Minneapolis, Seattle, or Denver.
What about Medicine Hat?
Medicine Hat works too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be tour buses downtown. They're going to take up all those prized parking spots you like in downtown Meteoropolis.
Oh, yeah. There aren't many good ones left.
No,
there's
only a few free ones left, unfortunately.
Well, and I'm not willing to do that right now, walk across downtown.
So you're a light rail guy now.
Yeah, well, no, I don't. I'm actually thinking about ramps these days.
Oh, boy. I can't stand ramps unless you leave 2 hours after the game.
Yeah, well, there's that. I think that one of the problems, obviously, that the Twins have right now is they can't keep guys off the injured list. I see they've moved Bailey Ober now to the 60-day. Miguel Sano is on, and then he's off. Now he's back on the injured list. And I'm not sure. He was 0 for 6 in the 6 at-bats he had when he did come back. I'm not sure was he completely healthy when he came back? Maybe not. They say that he tweaked his knee back in St. Paul when he was playing for the Saints. And they just put him on the active list because they had to. There are significant injuries. Trevor Larnach. I mean, you just go right down the list. Now Max Kepler's on the injury list. Do they make some big splashy move now? I mean, is that something that they have to do?
Well, they don't have to do anything.
Well,
I
obviously.
mean, we know that.
If they want to compete.
I think that they're going to try. They're going to sell make the pitch that, yes, we are doing something. We are taking phone calls or sending out texts or whatever they do now to orchestrate a trade. But will they actually pull the pin on something? I don't know. I mean, in the past, they've been real hesitant to give up prospects. Right, that's been the Twins' MO, but I don't really like that philosophy anymore. I think we are in this total win-now mode in professional sports. The Atlanta Braves proved that last year in Major League Baseball. The LA Rams did the same thing, won a Super Bowl in the NFL. Look, the Twins aren't going to draw a whole lot for Detroit, even though they're a first-place team, and it's summer, and the weather's good. Toronto will come in and pack the house, but that's because of the Canadian folks, right? That invasion I talked about. So watch out. There'll be a lot of Molson beer cans and Labatt's beer cans laying around downtown Minneapolis. I hope they recycle them, at least. Canadians will do that.
Lots of maple syrup.
They're good recyclers, yes. Probably a few Maple Leaf jerseys, too.
I'm
Austin
sure of that.
Matthews.
Yes, I'm sure of
But,
that.
I don't know. I think they should try to make a move. I think, and not only make a move just for the next couple months, hoping you get in the postseason, but try making a move that also can springboard you into next season and beyond. Get somebody that can help you and address this pitching issue, which is always really the theme with the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, and they go out, and get Bailey Ober, and he's okay. And they go out and get. It seems that every time they reach out, they go out for a guy like a Chris Archer.
Your favorite guy. I was at the iCubs St. Paul Saint game Saturday night. Your new hero, Brad Peacock, picks the scoreless
I saw
inning.
that. So that's just another one of those guys.
No relation to Elvis Peacock, by the way.
Okay. But he's an NBC guy, obviously.
Yeah. He's strutting his stuff in St. Paul.
Yeah, well, he spent a cup of coffee in Cleveland last summer. He was there for about a month or so, and then they traded him to Boston, and now he's with the Saints, and he could be with the Twins sooner rather than later, especially the way that their pitching staff is kind of, just barely making it through on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you got to get more than 4 innings out of your starter. You're burning that bullpen out. The bullpen isn't any good to start off with.
I expect Chicago to do something. Of all the teams, if you're looking at that trifecta, Minnesota, Cleveland, Chicago White Sox, the one that doesn't care about spending the money would be the White Sox and Jerry Reinsdorf. It doesn't necessarily mean the White Sox will win it, but I think they're all in. I mean, we've seen what they've done the last couple of years, so I would be shocked if they don't do something. Cleveland has an extremely low payroll. You're near the bottom of MLB.
I know.
You could bring some fans into your ballpark, Progressive Field, right? By saying, hey, we're committed. And I think the Twins, the same thing. I mean, it's like you went in on Carlos Correa. That was a big splashy move.
Exactly.
I applaud the Twins. Well, keep going, because Major League Baseball is about payroll. Look at that team they played yesterday, San Diego. 5th highest payroll in MLB. But market size, TV, radio market, it's like 28th in the nation.
Right.
The Padres, that San Diego metro area is much smaller than the Twin Cities. So, but they're all in.
Yeah, and I think that, the Padres have the Dodgers in the division. I think that makes things a little different. They have to prove.
It ramps things up.
Yeah, they have to prove that they're there to compete, right? Otherwise, they just get buried. I mean, of course, they're the only game in town in San Diego these days. They have
they're buried right now, but they know if they get in as a wild card, they'd be a dangerous team.
No question. No question. And there's 3 wild cards this year. So that changes things. It's a best of 3 opening round series, and the 2 best records in each league get the first round bye. So it's going to be a little bit different this year. And does that affect whether or not you make a move? This is why the players did not want expanded playoffs, because they're afraid that teams here at the deadline aren't going to do as much, aren't going to want to assume some of those big contracts, because all these extra teams are making the playoffs anyway. Well, we're on the fence. We're probably good enough to get in the wild card, or we're right on the edge of the wild card without making a move. Why make a move? Why spend that extra money, to bring somebody in? And so that having been said, we're going to see how this affects this trade deadline.
Yeah, I think the Twins are good enough to compete in the AL Central as is, and maybe win it. It's a mediocre division. We know that. But, they need more. They need to fortify if they really want to, push toward October and then make a run in the playoffs. And as we know, they have lost 18 straight postseason games.
Really?
And that's a narrative they're going to have to try to change.
Hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, well, it won't come up unless they make it again. How about that?
Yeah, well, they'll probably make it.
All right, stick around. We have a lot more coming up. We're going to chat with Carl Lee, who used to play cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings, was a 3-time Pro Bowl selection. All that and more coming up. 10K Takes, your Twins ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
"10,000 Takes," Wally and Eric, and we are now in Pads Week with the Minnesota Vikings at training camp. And a guy that knows a thing or two about Pads Week in training camp joins us now. One of the 50 greatest Vikings of all time, Carl Lee, played from 83 to 93 with Minnesota Vikings. Carl, welcome to the show. What do you remember, and I'm not necessarily thinking that this is fondly remember, but what do you remember most about putting the pads on for the first time during training camp?
Well, in the way you presented that, the very first thing came to my mind was my first training camp, having like no idea of what that was going to look like. And then, the whole pad thing, all of a sudden you're making contact with some of these guys that you've seen on TV and all that kind of stuff. It was a little bit, I don't know if intimidating is the right word, but it was like, is this really going to happen? And like, am I actually going to end up like hitting with Sammy White? Is he going to block me, or am I going to knock a ball down that Sammy White is going to try to catch? Like, I couldn't even imagine that happen.
Carl, give us your thoughts on that secondary core. Patrick Peterson's had an outstanding career. They brought him back. Cameron Dantzler's a young cornerback they like. Lewis Seen is the number one pick, the safety out of Georgia. Harrison Smith's been a Pro Bowl guy multiple times like you were. Do you like what the Vikings have back there?
I really do. I think securing safeties, I think, is really important for corners, because corners want to know what to do, and the sooner you let me know what to do, I can do it. And I think they're good enough at the corner spot. I think now with the leadership coming in from the safety spot, I really think this is a secondary that I wouldn't be surprised could end up sending out some guys that will eventually be some all-time greats for the Vikings.
They're going from a 4-3 to a 3-4. How big of a change is this? Obviously, on the front and in the linebacking core, it's a huge deal. But how big of a deal is it for the cornerbacks and safeties when you switch defensive schemes like this?
I don't know if it impacts corners at all. And I played a little bit of safety. I played it 1 year there, and of course that was a 4-3. So I'm not really sure how it impacts the safeties that much. So I won't try to elaborate too much on that, but I think it really is based on personnel. And sometimes when you're looking at your personnel, it's easier to maybe get that outside, those two outside backers that can really be game changers for you, versus sometimes getting those guys up front that could bring the heat. For us, my years, we had that front four that was really, really good. Not to say we didn't have backers that could have been in the 3-4, but you go back to the old Buffalo teams, they were 3-4s, and they had guys like Darryl Talley and those kind of guys on the outside. So I think it's something could be a good switch at the right time.
Carl, when you played cornerback and you had to guard guys like Jerry Rice and John Taylor, legends, but you had a little more, latitude in what you could do physically, especially off the line. Now you can't touch a wideout or the flag flies. How hard is it to be a cornerback in today's NFL where everything is skewed toward the offense?
I've said this to anybody who's ever asked that type of a question. I don't think that guys like me that played bump and run back in our days could play now. Because we like the physicality on the line of scrimmage. We like to be able to do a little bit of fighting with your hands down the field. And now you can't get away with any of that. Even what was legal then is not legal now. And so I really think it would be a challenge to play true bump and run today, because it's just too picky.
Let's take that one step further. Do you think because of that it dissuades players from becoming D-backs? Say, you know what, I'd rather be a wide receiver. I'd rather be a slot than I would play defensive back in the National Football League, or even college football for that matter.
I think what and from now coaching high school, I think what it does is it scares the corners, and I literally mean that. It makes corners nervous
Yes.
and uncomfortable in knowing how to play. I was comfortable getting my hands on you, and yeah, I might go 6, 7 yards, but I wasn't really worried about a flag. I might grab and tug a little bit of a jersey on the inside, kind of to hold the guy a little bit closer to me, and maybe not get a flag. Now, without those, and I'll call them techniques, without those types of techniques, corners are uncomfortable in making a play. And if you're uncomfortable and you're on the line of scrimmage playing man to man, you can't play it.
I like that sign behind you with the state of West Virginia. Your number 39, Randy Moss, of course, the Hall of Famer, number 84. In West Virginia, wild, wonderful West Virginia, is Randy Moss at the top of the mountain athletically? I know Jerry West came out of there and some other legends, but where is Moss on the mountain?
I think he's on. I think he's on the top. I would say this: if we say Jerry West is the best basketball player that's ever come out of West Virginia, Randy Moss has to be the best football player that's ever come out of West Virginia, and we all know how hard that is to bring Jerry West down. I believe it's going to be equally as hard to bring Randy down as being the best football player that's ever come out of West Virginia.
You coached college football for 10 seasons?
Yes.
NIL, what is it doing to college sports right now? And what are your thoughts on how the landscape of college football in general and college sports overall is being affected by all this?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's hard for leadership to say, whoever that is, that you made a mistake. I think if you would have put a cap on it for D1, a cap on it for D2, then it's fair, okay? And because now what you're asking me to do is that if I'm at a major university and major university A, and I've got X amount of dollars to come there, well, then another school in that same conference likes me. They could outbid me in a sense and get me to come there. So now it's great for the athlete, but for the sport itself, it's creating this situation that players are just leaving. And this is being at the high school level. It's happening here. You want to go to where somebody's winning, and it's because it's normal. It's just become something normal. Even I oversee the youth sports programs for the city of South Charleston. That was really my main job. And I got to make a call today about the same situation about kids playing in different places where they live. It's just something that's taking over. And I make the case that it is the better athletes, and the lower you go down, it's the parents that make the issue. The college situation, I think it was messed up. I think the intent was good. I think players deserve to get paid in college, but I don't think this is the way that it should have happened, because now the best teams are always going to get picked. They're going to get players that are going to get picked off. And what you want to do is to be a good player on a good team so that you can somebody can basically bid for you and you can get more money. I'm not sure if that's what we really want sports to be at the college and high school levels.
Carl, you played for Bud, you played for Bernsey most of your career, and then Denny Green late in your career. Do you feel fortunate? Those were three solid head coaches with Minnesota.
Well, not only that, I also had Pete Carroll and Willie Shaw and Tony Dungy. So if anybody should have been successful, I had no reason not to be. I had coaches that are great coaches, Hall of Fame coaches throughout my entire career. So I'm one of the few fortunate players that could say that they played for those types of names their entire career.
All right, last question for you, Carl. Where do you see the Minnesota Vikings 2022 version landing? Is this a playoff team, do you think?
I think this is going to be a quarterback-driven team. I think if the quarterback is successful, the team will be successful. Um, Whether that's playoffs or not, I really don't know. I'd love to be able to say, oh yes, absolutely, they're going to be in the playoffs. They'll make a run, but I think it's quarterback driven. I think that if we have good quarterback play, solid quarterback play, great quarterback play, I think yes, we got a shot. But if not, you know, I think we'll find ourselves kind of stuck in the mud again.
Yeah. Well, Carl, appreciate your insight. Good luck in your high school football season, and we will check in with you again later on during the season.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, he is Carl Lee. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler and, of course, one of the greatest Vikings of all time. Back with more here on 10,000 Takes after this. Imagine a public golf course where beginners feel comfortable in learning and where experienced players can test their skills. Well, you don't have to imagine it. You can live it at the Royal Golf Club in Lake Elmo, an 18-hole championship caliber course designed by golfing legends Arnold Palmer and Annika Sorenstam. With 5 tee boxes, bent grass fairways, and generous landing areas, the Royal Golf Club is perfect for golfers of all experience levels. Golfing and Arnie's Restaurant are open to the public, so make your tee times today at RoyalClubMN.com. The Royal Golf Club, a one-of-a-kind golfing experience.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
"10,000 Takes." Vikings in camp, as we mentioned when we were talking to Carl Lee. Pads week this week. Are you going out to enjoy some of the festivities out there to watch them practice? In the words of Allen Iverson, it's only practice. We're talking about practice.
Itinerary yet. It's TBD, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I've got some Twins games I need to go to later in the week.
Well, I'm going tonight, so
All right.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay.
Okay. It is different, though, when you go out to training camp now. I mean, it's very much regimented as far as the fans are concerned. Used to be a little more loosey-goosey. You know, you wander around, you get autographs. Now there's autograph stations, particular guys, particular times, particular people who could get autographs. It's just a whole different ball of wax now. You got to pay for your parking. And I mean, the nice part, of course, is it's closer. It's only in Eagan. You don't have to go to Mankato. But other than that, I don't know. I think that the thrill is gone.
Wasn't there a song called "The Thrill Is Gone"?
Well.
I agree. I think you're right. It's closer if you live in the Twin Cities metro, but it also, stamps the fact that are they really the Minneapolis Vikings or the Twin Cities Vikings?
Yeah.
Because when you were in Mankato, or even way back when they started as a franchise, Bemidji,
yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings, and in Mankato they drew people up from Iowa, southern Minnesota, South Dakota. I'm not saying those folks still don't come to Eagan, but it's a little more work involved for them. And certainly Mankato,
right.
That was a badge of honor to have the purple there every summer for, decades. I mean, they had a long run there. They had tradition. But it's all changed now. There's only 8 teams that don't practice at their facility. So that's out of 32. It used to be that everybody went to a college to bond and the players stayed in dorms and all that. And so only 8 do it now. And the Minnesota Vikings are one of the majority who said, you know what, we're just going to keep it in-house.
And they do. And it's all right there at the exact same spot. Practice, training camp, the whole 9 yards. Okay. I'd be remiss if we didn't move on right now and talk about the late, great Bill Russell, an icon on the court. 11 NBA titles in 13 seasons with the Boston Celtics. I mean, just incredible. And here's a stat that I heard. He played in 21 win-or-go-home games. as either an NCAA basketball player, so this would be in the NCAA tournament, or in like a game 7 in the NBA playoffs. His teams were 21-0 in those 21 decisive games. In other words, he was the best player on the floor on his team, and they won all 21 of those games. He also had, oh, by the way, 2 NCAA titles.
Yeah, at San Francisco.
At San Francisco.
A pure winner. And a guy not worried about his stats. He just wanted to win ball games. Wilt Chamberlain stacked up the rebounding titles and the scoring titles, but Russell won championships. We might be talking about the greatest player in NBA history. And, you know, I was looking at articles in the Boston Globe where, of course, he achieved his fame with the Celtics. Right. But if you read the articles in San Francisco where he played college basketball, or Seattle where he lived most of his life, you know, he was equally as much of an icon in those markets as well. He was the Sonics head coach for a while. First African-American
head
NBA coach,
yeah.
and a guy who really made an impact as an activist. He made his voice heard. You know, we know about Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in MLB, but after Jackie, you had people like Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Bill Russell.
No doubt.
Bill Russell took a stand, and he wasn't afraid of any kind of blowback he was going to get. So I applaud him for what he did on the court, but even more so what he did off the court for civil rights.
Yeah, no question. And I think the thing I'll remember the most, and we do need to take a break, Bill Russell's infectious laugh. There was nothing like the Bill Russell laugh. I remember those old telecasts on ABC, and he will be missed. All right. Takes of the day coming up next here on 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
$10K Takes, final segment of today's show. Going to be some quick takes. Not a lot of time left. We're going to find out if you're an angry American, demanding diva, maybe a grumpy guardian. What is it?
Well, the Minnesota Vikings, as I mentioned, in camp, they're putting the pads on this week. And lo and behold, don't bring your phones if you're going to go watch practice. Heaven forbid, you might shoot some of the video of them, I don't know, doing jumping jacks or whatever they allow you to see. Yes, the Vikings posted a big sign up at their practice facility last week. Please do not video record this. You're part of our team, blah, 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 blah. Some other team might steal some of our secrets. Oh, please. They don't even let the media in to see any of their secrets anymore. Give me a break. Video off of somebody's phone. And then on the flip side of this, they say, well, we have people all over watching video of teams around the NFL. So what is it? I think you're being hypocritical here, Kevin O'Connell and company. Oh, boy.
This is top secret stuff.
Oh,
man.
my
They're cracking
goodness.
the Morse code out there.
Oh, it's unbelievable. There's nothing new.
By the way, he's a grumpy guardian,
Yes.
according to the mood meter. All right, well, my take of the day, I'll talk about Deshaun Watson, who had multiple sexual assault allegations against him. And the NFL has come out with the announcement of his suspension. He's now with Cleveland, your Browns. 6 games. A lot of us thought he would go away for at least 1 season. Now, by comparison, if you're wondering, Paul Hornung, back in the 1960s, went away for 1 year for gambling. Art Schlichter had an indefinite suspension for gambling back in the 1980s. Josh Gordon, former wideout, had 5 substance abuse-related offenses, wound up missing a total of like 25-plus games. And how about Darren Waller? 1 substance abuse violation. That was a 4-game suspension in 2016. And then he had another one in 2017. He went away for the whole season. So, you know, draw your own conclusions and come up with your own thoughts. But some of these guys get tougher punishment for different kinds of violations than what Deshaun got.
Yeah, I'm, as a Browns fan, not thrilled with the whole Deshaun thing in the first place. So, anyway.
Yeah, 6 games isn't a lot. He will be
It
ready
is
to
not.
go sometime this season. And on that note, we got to go. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. One to the great crew behind the scenes. Also for Rocky and Carl Lee. He's Wally. I'm Eric. This is 10K Takes, your sports ticket.